So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy Ellen. I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. Now listen, if y'all haven't figured it out by now yet, I day trade a lot. You know what I mean? I love being in the stock market so much that I day trade a lot. You know what I mean? More so mainly futures. I dabble in the futures market. You know what I mean? And one of the things for me that I had to get a grasp on was knowing that news plays a very, very integral part in how a stock moves and how things move, how the market moves. You know what I mean? So for me, I trade the ES. And I had to learn that, you know what I mean, charts, news trumps charts. So understanding the economic side of everything, you know, especially for a kid like me who didn't really necessarily always pay attention in school, you know what I mean? But I had to later on learn, if I'm going to do this and want to be good at it, profitable at it, that I need to understand the news and what's going on, right? So if you hadn't noticed, you should have noticed by now, we've been having a ton of supply chain issues, right? So this video here is how Amazon beat supply chain chaos with ships, containers, and planes, all right? So we're going to check this video out. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Join the fam. Let's check it out.
Online holiday orders are streaming in, but supply chain chaos is causing panic this season.
There are 77 container vessels waiting in California's San Pedro Bay. It's a record high, but some of those ships are unscheduled container charters with no docking appointment.
The ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach announcing they'll fine shipping companies for each container they leave on the dock starting the 1st of November.
The trucker shortage in the U.S. is at an all-time high, 80,000 according to new data released this week.
But Amazon has made some unusual big moves to avoid the worst of it.
Los Angeles, there were 79 vessels sitting out there, up to 45 days. Amazon's latest venture that I've been tracking in the last 2 days, it waited 2 days in the harbor.
For years, Amazon has chartered its own cargo ships, a tactic that retailers like Walmart, Home Depot, and Costco are trying this season.
And see, I got a family member that works at the ports in Savannah, right? And he always tells me, like, when I was just down there for my pop's birthday, he was like, listen, man, he's like, we can't hire enough people fast enough. We got so much work going on right now. So this makes perfect sense hearing all of this. You know what I'm saying?
Amazon is also making its own containers, doubling down on workers and warehouses, even leasing long-haul planes for the first time to expedite high-priority goods from China to the U.S.
They've been anticipating this. So they've been taking steps since 2020 to alleviate the issues that other retailers are going to have. So Amazon will not be as impacted as other retailers, but they're not immune to this.
Amazon has seen a 14% rise in out-of-stock items since the start of the year, and prices on the site are up an average of 25%.
The consumer has been feeling price increases in everything that they're purchasing. I mean, ultimately, when there's an increase in the cost of transportation, it gets passed down to the consumer.
That's one of the things we've been seeing. My bad, y'all. This stuff is, I always forget to mute it. But that's actually some of my trading stuff over there. But the dollar has been strong. You know what I mean? And we've had inflation. Oh my gosh, we'll get into that talks. You know what I mean? For days about inflation. You know, latest CPI numbers just came out, and they actually came out under this time. So that's why you saw the market rise. And then PPI dropped as well, which kind of sent the market up a little bit today. So it's like like I said, it's a lot of different factors, man, of why people are feeling it.
Talked to former Amazonians, maritime lawyers, and supply chain experts about all the bold but costly ways Amazon is trying to skirt the shipping delays plaguing other retailers this holiday season. Across every node of the complex, winding shipping journey, Amazon has been investing tens of billions to control as much of the process as possible. The more Amazon controls each node, the less it has to pay outsiders like UPS and the US Postal Service to ship its goods, and the less vulnerable its goods are to delays impacting the rest of the industry.
Amazon always understood they didn't want to be the largest retailer, they wanted to be the largest logistics company.
Amazon spent more than $61 billion on shipping in 2020, up from just under $38 billion in 2019. And Amazon is now shipping 72% of its own packages, up from less than 47% in 2019.
Talk about cutting out the middleman and saying, nah, we'll do it in-house. You know what I'm saying? That's just like normal progression.
And the more Amazon ships, the more data it gathers at every potential pain point of the process.
They're watching what's going on an hourly basis globally. So when anything changes in terms of a cost increase of one mode of transportation versus another, then Amazon has the ability to say, you know what, shipping container is so high, it's actually cheaper now for us to fly product via a cargo aircraft.
Let's break down the complexities of the supply chain by looking at the journey of a holiday gift ordered on Amazon. Months or weeks before your order, Amazon uses data to predict what will sell and where, and orders those items early, at bulk prices, often from China. There, Amazon packs the bulk orders into shipping containers and orchestrates the best journey across the ocean based on the value of the goods and where they need to go. This step is referred to as first mile. Most often, the shipping containers are loaded onto massive 14,000 container cargo vessels, the most cost-effective option, sharing space with goods from up to thousands of other companies. About 40% of the time, the vessels are headed to the ports of LA or Long Beach, on a journey taking between 25 and 40 days right now, at least 10 days longer than normal. Once there, they typically sit for days, and right now up to months, waiting for available dock space and workers. Once there's availability, port workers unload the containers onto trailers or chassis, which are also in short supply. Then move the containers around on port property until they're ready to be picked up by one of Amazon's 50,000 plus semi-truck trailers. Or
if y'all watch The Wire, this is where in season 2, these trailers would mysteriously go missing in the stacks. Y'all remember that season 2? The docks? Oh, where are my Wire people? Like the Wire people. Oh my gosh, that was my favorite show. My bad.
Property until they're ready to be picked up by one of Amazon's 50,000 plus semi-truck trailers or contractors, and brought that middle mile to one of its 260 plus fulfillment and other facilities. It's stored here until you place an order, and one of Amazon's 260,000 global drivers or its partners at UPS or the Postal Service pick it up for that last mile delivery. The first real bottleneck happening in this process is where to put the bulk orders of goods for their journey across the ocean. A decade ago, containers were in such oversupply that excess boxes were repurposed as houses and entire business parks. Now, containers are so scarce that the price to ship one has gone through the roof.
Prior to the pandemic, it would cost about $1,200 to ship a container from China to Los Angeles. Today, it's about $20,000 for just one container.
One of the reasons that there's a shortage of containers is just the imbalance of where trade is. And so if you have a lot of imports coming in, you're moving those containers from the port inland, and one of the challenges is then getting those empty containers back.
So Amazon is making its own 53-foot containers in China, using a company.
Amazon's like, man, we are not waiting on y'all. We are coming up with solutions. And that's what you look for in a great company when you invest in them. Are they going to be able to weather the storms? Are they going to be able to figure it out? Are they innovative? You know what I'm saying? That's what you look for in a decent company. So if you're looking for somebody, well, not financial advice, so I'm not saying that, but
company called CIMC, which makes similar containers for Walmart. In early October, hundreds of Amazon's own containers arrived at the port of Houston on the Star Ligra.
Amazon has produced probably somewhere in 5,000 to 10,000 of these containers over the last 2 years I've been tracking it. When they bring these containers in to US soil, once they unload them, guess what? They get to be used in their domestic system, in their rail system. They don't have to return them to Asia like everyone else does.
By them creating their own containers, they are essentially guaranteeing that that equipment is going to be available for them.
Lauren Beacon was working at the Federal Maritime Commission when Amazon first registered with the agency in 2015. The first indication it was exploring its own ocean freight business to give it more control over the shipping journey of certain goods.
What if we had Tickle Me Elmo this year? Guaranteed you wouldn't be able to find it anywhere, because that would definitely fall victim to the congestion that's happening out there right now. But that would be an example of something that would give you a competitive edge if you were to be able to provide that good faster.
Amazon wouldn't disclose details of its ocean freight program, but says it's increased ports of entry by 50% this season, expanded network partnerships, and doubled container processing capacity.
Wow.
Amazon and other retailers are getting creative with ocean freight, from repurposing old vessels and chartering their own, because congestion at the busiest U.S. ports is at record levels.
This is really taking a lot of capacity off the market because you have fewer ships available. Why? Because they're sitting so long to be unloaded.
One solution is to simply call at a less busy port,
which is then costing you a lot more as well. You know what I mean? Each excessive day is costing you money.
But to control the route, a company needs to charter its own vessel. So that's exactly what Amazon has been doing for years.
You can pull into much smaller ports, the port of Everett, Washington, for example, or Houston or New Jersey. Those ports that have the lowest congestion and the fastest offload times.
Amazon's been experimenting with chartering vessels since 2017, quietly acting through a Chinese subsidiary as a global freight forwarder, helping move goods across the ocean for its Chinese sellers, who pay to be part of the Fulfilled by Amazon program. Internally, Amazon dubbed this Project Dragon Boat.
They're doing over 10,000 containers per month of the small and medium-sized Chinese exporter. Amazon's volume as an ocean vendor, that's right, you heard me correct, they're considered an ocean vendor, would rank them in the top 5 transportation companies in the Trans-Pacific.
This season, a handful of other major retailers, Walmart, Costco, Home Depot, IKEA, and Target, are also chartering their own smaller vessels to bypass the busiest ports and get their goods unloaded sooner, and sometimes repurposing ships usually meant for other jobs.
The real purpose of these vessels, when they were built, was not containers. It was really lumber, chemicals, grain, agricultural products. But because of the ingenuity and creativity and lack of space, Amazon and many other smart people have quickly figured out how to convert some of these multi-purpose vessels to containers.
John Esborn has been in the supply chain business for 40 years, streamlining logistics for Wayfair and now Perch, an Amazon aggregator.
You've got those fringe vessels that used to be $10,000 a day. They're now $150,000. And you can't do like a 1-month lease. Everybody's got a captive audience now, right? And so now that you've got to lease that thing, I've heard, for as much as 4 years.
To understand why extravagantly expensive deals to charter smaller, older vessels make sense right now, let's talk about different size container ships and why some ports are backed up while others aren't. A traditional 20-foot container is referred to as a TEU, or 20-foot equivalent unit, although most containers used today are 40-foot, equivalent to 2 TEUs. Cargo vessels are measured by how many TEUs can fit on board. Ultra-large container ships bringing goods to the U.S. from Asia can carry up to 20,000 TEUs, and they're primarily limited to ports on the West Coast because they can't fit through the Panama Canal. Although freight rates are at a record high, prices are lowest on these big shared vessels, making them popular. And only certain ports can handle vessels that size. That's why 40% of shipping containers entering the U.S. pass through the ports of LA and Long Beach, causing a backlog. Smaller cargo ships that can fit through the Panama Canal carry as little as 1,000 TEUs and cost about double the price of moving cargo on the larger shared vessels. But the flexibility to dock and unload quickly at any number of ports may translate to on-time deliveries.
When leasing a ship that can only carry about 1,000 containers, you're actually paying twice as much to move your containers. But what choice do you have as a retailer?
You don't want to be the person that doesn't have goods on the shelf, right? You don't want to be the CEO that's explaining to Wall Street that you made that decision or didn't have those goods. So we're moving our hottest selling items this time of year that also are...
Like he said, you don't want to have to explain that to Wall Street where your investors are, why you can't get it done. All they see is or hear is you saying you can't get it done while they look over and see other people getting it done. Like, you in the get it done business, bro.
Bring the highest margins.
For those high margin goods, there's another way Amazon is bypassing ports altogether. Since 2016, Amazon has been building its Amazon Air cargo fleet, saying it'll reach 85 leased and owned aircraft this season. They fly out of 42 U.S. airports, totaling at least 164 flights per day, with some additional flights out of Canada and Europe. Now, amid the current challenges, Amazon is reportedly looking to lease at least 10 larger, long-haul planes that can hold 25% more volume and have traditionally been used to fly across the North Pacific, getting goods from China to the U.S.
Imagine how much more expensive that was when fuel jacked up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, whew, you just start putting all this stuff into perspective.
Converted Boeing 777s can carry 220,000 pounds of cargo, equivalent to the cargo that can fit inside about 5.5 fully loaded 20-foot containers. Most of the small 1,000 container freighters being chartered by Amazon and others can hold 180 times that, with the biggest cargo ships carrying more than 3,600 times what the planes can hold.
Wouldn't it be easier just to move all that product, say, from Asia to the US in a cargo plane? No, it can cost over $1 million in certain cases to lease and fly a cargo plane. It's a very, very expensive endeavor.
They were flying hot tubs, which is crazy. I mean, can you imagine hot tubs on freight aviation? The demand was so high that they were able to mark up the goods enough. People were willing to pay the extra surcharges for that cargo movement.
Another strain on the supply chain that's gotten costlier is manpower.
We've been hearing a lot about the Great Resignation with a lot of jobs going open and unfilled. So I think companies are looking to get very creative in attracting labor. It might be signing bonuses, higher pay.
To fight the worker shortage and a reputation for relentless workload and breakneck speed, Amazon says it's offering sign-on bonuses of up to $3,000 to all the 150,000 seasonal workers it's hiring this year. Last year, it hired 100,000 seasonal workers.
That 50,000 increase in employees this year over last year is probably people to do the unloads. You know, they've got these containers coming in the last second. Man, they want to unload those goods and get them on the shelves in the fulfillment centers as quickly as possible.
The seasonal workers are unloading and loading, picking and packing at more than 250 new facilities Amazon says it's opened in the US just in 2021, a clear indication that it planned far ahead for the final bottleneck in the supply chain backlog, warehouse capacity.
Their goal is this: be within 10 to 15 minutes of 100%, or at a minimum 90% of the population in the United States, to where they can make deliveries to basically all the customers and deliver just about anything.
While Amazon may be well positioned to avoid the worst of it, the global supply chain remains vulnerable to future backlogs and shortages.
Okay, here we go.
In November, President Biden signed into law a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill that aims to help, with $17 billion for improvements at ports and $66 billion toward freight and passenger rail over the next 5 years. In October, he also unveiled a plan to run operations at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach 24/7.
In total, that will almost double the number of hours that the port is open for business from earlier this year.
It's wonderful to have 24/7 as one of the solutions, but what does that mean? I mean, now it just means that the next part, maybe the warehouses, are going to be overflowed with all these goods that are coming in.
24/7 port operations and chartering private vessels also worsens another related problem: the massive amount of carbon created by all this congestion.
When you have more smaller ships carrying only 1,000 cargo containers, you're generating much more emissions from having more smaller ships that frankly have less efficient engines than these massive cargo ships.
One solution may lie in greater collaboration.
At any given time, there are tractor trailers moving back and forth on highways that are only a quarter loaded. And right beside it is another truck and trailer going to the exact same location. If you combined supply chains, if you collaborate, you would be removing thousands of trucks from the road.
Two of the country's biggest importers of goods by container ship have already started collaborating on the last mile portion of their supply chain. Home Depot is outsourcing its same and next day deliveries to Walmart in New Mexico, Texas, and Arkansas. As for Amazon, shipping for third parties is already part of its strategy to keep scaling its massive logistics empire.
One of the next phases that Amazon could potentially get into is actually selling container space to the Fords, the GMs, or the Chryslers of the world.
What Amazon's going to do is say, look at the capacity we have. We have planes that are only...
Smart. Very, very, very smart, bro. That's smart. Look. You having trouble? Get down with us. Come on. We got an opportunity. Let's do business. That's what it's about. Figuring it out. And again, back to what I was saying. You want to be able to invest, again, not financial advice. You want to be able to invest in a company that's able to figure it out. And look at Amazon right here, prime example.
going to be 25% full or 50% full, we will sell that capacity to our competitors, to other companies. That then pays for the operational costs. It's really smart on Amazon's part how they've been doing this.
And that's just a small fraction of things that, you know what I mean, that people are having to deal with. You know what time of the year we getting into right now? And people already start buying Christmas during summertime. You know what I'm saying? You start seeing that stuff. And man, we're still having, like I said, we had CPI inflation data come in, and it was good. We finally got a relief, but we need to see back to back in order for people to start really believing that it's starting to come down. It's still high though, you know what I mean? But to see it start to come down, man, imagine how many quarters. We had two negative quarters of GDP going on, which technically puts us in a recession. So it's so much stuff going on, man, that you have to be in tune with and start understanding and understanding why you're feeling it here, or why you're paying more here, or why you're feeling it at the pump, or why you're paying more at the store, and why you're, you know what I'm saying? To understand why, you got to dig into a little bit of the economics, bro. Got to. You got to, you know? And for some reason now, I find it more intriguing than I did in school. Maybe if they was sat the stock market in front of me at school and say, hey, you can make money doing this, but now you need to understand how this moves. And one of the things that you need to learn is economics to make this money. If they'd have broke it down to me a little bit better, I might would have been better off a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. I'm learning it. I have been learning it. I have been studying it. I constantly study it. I watch CNBC on a daily. So this is just some information for you, man. Take from it what you will. Y'all get at me in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Stick around and stay tuned. Until next one, I'm gone. Peace.